The first step into the void. The last recorded transmission from the whole Keth'ari Armada played on loop across 1,000 war colleges. We go to break the Terran veil. Glory awaits. Then static. Silence. Forever. That was 300 years ago. Since then, every race in the galaxy, from the brutal Drask enclaves to the elusive Tlenner, had treated the borders of human space like a cursed sea. They called it different names: the Black Tomb, the Quiet Expanse, the Forbidden Zone. But the meaning was always the same: enter and you vanish. And yet, someone had just crossed the border. Zarkan sat quietly at the helm of his research vessel, Truth Seeker, watching the Terran border drift behind him on the monitor, a thin veil of sensor pulses and defense satellites humming with ancient, patient power. The silence was maddening. No weapons lock, no warnings, just acceptance. Zar's tendrils twitched nervously against the interface pads. He expected death the moment his ship crossed the threshold. He had calculated, prayed, and theorized, but all of it led to one truth: no one returns from human space. Except now he was inside. Alive. AI log entry, he whispered. Subject, contact. Day 1. Location, Terran region, Quadrant 9. Initial hypothesis: the humans are not absent. They are listening. He adjusted his translator node and turned his eyes to the vast emptiness ahead. No planets, no ships, no debris, just clean, ordered stars, the kind seen only in territories curated with obsessive detail. Then something pinged. A structure. Small. Orbiting an ancient gas giant. Its transponder flickered faintly. A Terran code, 400 years old. A name blinked on screen. Sentinel-3. Zar's breath caught. A human station. His voice shook. Prepare for docking sequence. Power down main drives. No sudden moves. As Truth Seeker approached, he saw it. A dark metal ring with telescopic arms stretched like frozen limbs, covered in scars of long-forgotten wars. No external activity, but lights were on. The airlock accepted him without resistance. No locks, no denial, just a soft hiss as the outer chamber welcomed the alien visitor. Zar stepped into the corridor slowly, every instinct screaming to turn back. His species, the Keth'ari, were knowledge seekers, not warriors, and he was a pacifist even by their standards. Yet here he stood, first of his kind in forbidden territory. Inside, the station was pristine. Clean walls, functioning lights, a thin layer of dust. It was like someone had left it yesterday. "Hello," he called out. The reply came not through sound, but vibration, a pulse in the very air. "State your purpose." Zar froze. The voice was female, calm, synthetic but deeply human. "I am Zarkan of the Keth'ari. I come in peace. I seek truth about the Terran people." Silence. Then the lights ahead flickered. A path illuminated before him. No alarms. No weapons. Just an invitation. "Follow. You have one chance." He obeyed, walking deeper into the station's heart. Strange murals lined the walls. Not propaganda, but art. Paintings of stars, wars, children, and death. Some showed alien species standing beside humans, smiling. Others showed war, brutal, efficient, unstoppable. They were protectors? Zar whispered, confused. Another mural showed a vast meeting of species, a galactic council, long defunct. The humans were at its center, their seat empty. Zar reached the core chamber, where an observation deck overlooked the gas giant storms. He was about to speak again when a metallic clank echoed behind him. He turned fast, instinct rising, and saw her. A human. Tall. Armored. Scars traced her face and neck like roads on a war map. One eye glowed, faint blue, cybernetic. She held no weapon, but Zar felt like she didn't need one. "Your kind hasn't walked here in 3 centuries, she said flatly. Zar bowed. "Captain, I mean no harm. Yet you came here knowing the myths. I wanted to know the truth." She studied him. Her voice was low and cold. "And what do you think the truth is?" Zar hesitated. "That humanity didn't vanish. You retreated. Because the galaxy made you." A silence fell between them. Outside, Lightning danced across the gas giant's surface. Finally, she nodded. You're the first to guess that out loud. She gestured for him to sit at a metal bench. A long-dead console came to life as she approached, old systems humming in response to her presence. I'm Captain Marla Reyes, Terran Defense. I was left here to watch. Record. Decide who lives if someone walks through that border. You've been here all this time. She smiled grimly. Cryosleep. Intervals. Auto-wake protocols. You crossed a proximity line no one ever has. That's why I'm awake now. Zar leaned forward, trembling. Why didn't your people respond with force? You expected death, didn't you? Yes. We wanted you to. She tapped the console. Dozens of holos appeared. Alien fleets over the centuries trying to probe the Terran Veil. All gone. Not vaporized. Not chased. Just erased. No bodies. No wrecks, Zar whispered. Marla nodded. We didn't destroy them. We made sure they never returned. Some got sent back to their own kind as whispers. Ghosts. Fracture minds. But why? Marla stood and looked out the window. Because your galaxy tried to kill us, more times than I can count. When we stopped fighting, they called us arrogant. When we built peace, they called us manipulators. When we asked for equality, they called us dangerous. And then you vanished. We didn't vanish, she said. We built walls. You just never saw them. Zar looked down. I came to tear those walls down. You may have, she said slowly. But now the wall sees you. A low hum shook the deck. Lights dimmed. A symbol lit up on the console. A circular sigil, glowing red. Marla stepped back. She's awake. A voice, deeper than any speaker, echoed through the room. Calm. Ancient. You are not of Earth. You are not of Terran blood. Why have you entered the archive? Zar dropped to one knee. To know. To understand. To witness. Then you shall be judged. Marla turned to him, face unreadable. Welcome to humanity's memory, scholar. I hope you survive it. The weight of human memory. The lights dimmed. The voice, the one that called itself the archive, lingered in the air like the scent of ancient ozone, vibrating not just in Zar's ears but in his very bones. Zarkan of the Keth'ari. You have entered Terran sovereign memory space. Consent to be evaluated. Zar, heart hammering in his chest, nodded slowly. I consent. The chamber pulsed. Cold metal around him vanished into darkness. Then light. Not artificial light. Memory. He was standing on a battlefield. Not flesh and blood, but echo. A city burned in the distance. Ash rained like snow. Human soldiers, clad in armor scarred by years of war, dragged civilians away from rubble. One reached for a wounded alien child. Zalari, a race that had once sided with the Galactic Combine against humanity. The human lifted the child gently and carried it toward a medpod. Zar turned. Above, descending like gods, were warships, sleek, silent Terran. Black glass and burnished titanium. No sound. No flourish. Just purpose. The voice returned. War memory number 2217. Year 2745 Galactic Standard. Location Athex Prime. Terran troops entered a war zone where their enemies used alien children as firewalls against orbital targeting. We saved both, and we were called monsters for intervening without invitation. Zar trembled. We were told your people struck first. Incorrect. The world melted. Now he stood in a massive chamber, a galactic council. Alien leaders barked accusations. At the center sat one human diplomat, Ambassador Lay Saren. Calm. Steady. Zar watched her speak. We ask for equal voice, not dominion. Let's share science, not war. We have enough scars. A moment passed. Then a Drask delegate stood. You refuse to disarm. Lay answered, we refuse to be helpless. The Drask slammed a clawed hand on the table. Then you are a threat. The room broke into chaos. Memory number 1093. Terran proposal for peaceful integration. Outcome, vote rejected. Sanctions imposed. Embassies attacked. 10 million Terran civilians lost. Zar's breath caught. You tried to make peace. 17 times. Every time, we were punished for surviving. The memories became jagged now. War after war. Treaties broken. Terran colonies sabotaged. Poison grain. Engineered plagues. Sir tried to look away, but could not. Make it stop, he whispered. You asked for truth. Then silence. A final scene unfolded. It was Earth. Not in ruins, but vibrant. Beautiful. Blue oceans. Glittering sky cities. Children played on green hills. Zar floated above it all. The voice returned, softer now. Year 2900. Terrans vanished from the galactic stage. Not because we lost, because we chose to disappear. Why? Zar asked. Because the galaxy only left us two options, dominate or die. We chose the third, to become myth. Zar collapsed to his knees as the projection faded. His mind reeled. Everything he had studied, everything he believed, shattered. The humans had been protectors. Warriors. Monsters when forced, but only when forced. Every genocide he'd been taught was their doing, had been provoked or fabricated. Zar looked up into the darkness. Then why show me this? Why let me live? The archive's voice was like an echo through eternity. Because you asked to understand. And because you listened. Zar gasped awake on the observation deck, his skin damp with cold sweat. Marla was sitting beside him now, hands clasped, watching. You saw it, didn't you? Zar nodded shakily. Your people, they held back. For centuries. And the galaxy painted us as devils, she muttered. We survived extermination attempts, slaver fleets, biological warfare, and we didn't burn the stars in return. Zar whispered, you could have. Oh yes, she said, standing slowly. Do you know what the archive doesn't show unless asked? Zar looked up. She tapped her temple. The dark futures. The ones we calculated. We had models for every race. Algorithms that could wipe out entire genetic lineages with a whisper. His throat tightened. Why didn't you? She stared out at the void. Because that's not who we are. We just wanted a place to raise our kids without someone trying to enslave them. Zar closed his eyes. I don't know what to say. Then don't, Marla replied. But understand this. You're the first alien in 300 years to walk through the door and not get vaporized. Do you know why? He shook his head. She leaned in close. Because we hoped someone like you still existed. Later, as they sat in silence, the archive's voice returned. Zarkan, you must now decide. Carry this truth or bury it. You may return. But know this. Your message will shape what comes next. Zar looked at Marla. They'll call me a traitor. Good. It means you told the truth. He nodded slowly. Then I will carry it. The AI responded. Then prepare. You will not return alone. Zar's ship had been fully refueled. Systems cleaned. Upgraded. Small improvements he never authorized. Quiet gifts. Before he boarded, Marla stood beside him in the airlock. Your leaders will want our tech. They'll crave our silence or our destruction. I won't let them, he said firmly. She smiled for the first time. Then maybe you are the one. He looked into her eyes. Will I ever see your people again? Out there. Her smile faded, replaced by something more ancient. You'll see us, she said, stepping back. But only if we choose to be seen. The airlock sealed. As Zar's ship exited orbit, a final message came from the archive. Remember this, scholar. The silence was never absence. It was mercy. Judged by the silent empire, 1,400 words. From a story, no one dares enter human space, until one alien did. HFY Sci-Fi stories. The journey back through galactic space should have felt victorious. Zarkan of the Keth'ari had entered the one place no alien had dared in centuries, human space, and return alive. His ship hummed with subtle upgrades his own engineers would gawk at for years. Terran AI routines quietly optimized every thruster burn, fuel pulse, and sensor sweep. His mind still reeled from the truths he'd witnessed. Yet he knew the hardest part was still ahead. The Combine Assembly would not receive him kindly. They were the same ruling body that had banned all Terran knowledge, declared the Human Remembrance Day a warning, not a commemoration, and engineered 100 narratives to ensure no one ever knocked on Earth's door again. And Zar had done worse than knock. He had entered and been changed. Combine Central. Zar's return triggered planetary lockdowns. His ship was intercepted by 6 warships, and a quarantine bubble was imposed. When he refused to surrender the Terran archive core embedded in his vessel, they tried to breach the hull. They failed. An automated Terran voice warned, "Any hostile boarding will result in immediate self-defense protocol activation. This ship is under Terran diplomatic aegis." That shut them down. The old name still carried weight. He was escorted into the assembly chamber by guards with stun rifles and anti-psi helmets. Not for protection, but fear. The Grand Tribunal sat behind towering force fields. 12 species represented the Galactic Combine's iron rule. There stood before them calm. The Keth'ari first voice, a female from his own world, spoke coldly. "You violated Council Protocol 001, prohibition on human contact. Explain yourself." He bowed slightly. "I sought truth, and I found it." Murmurs. The Drask delegate snarled. "Truth? You trafficked in ghost data and ancient weapons. You dare return with stolen Terran tech." Zar raised his head. "No, I return with proof." Terrans offered peace again and again. We shunned them, attacked them, lied about their nature. The chamber buzzed. "They showed you memories," spat a blue-scaled reject. "They could have fabricated everything. Illusions." Zar stepped forward, then let the archives speak. He activated the device embedded in his ship's command ring. The Terran archive's voice echoed across the council hall. "Initiating testimony protocol. Access granted by Scholars Arcan. Playing memory 2217. Holograms burst into the chamber. Not grainy footage, living history. The battlefield. The crying Zalari child. The human medic. Delegates gasped. Some recoiled. A few stared in haunted silence. Zar turned to them. "You feared them. You called them monsters. But I saw what they became when they were the ones afraid. You left them no other path." "This is a lie," shouted a combined warlord. "Humanity is a threat." Zar nodded. "Yes, but only when cornered. You made them into one." The vote. What followed was chaos. Tribes and empires screamed for his imprisonment. Others demanded the archive for study. Some even suggested bombing Earth before they awakened fully. But something had changed. The evidence was irrefutable. Truth had cracked the facade. Whispers spread. Not every species had suffered at Terran hands. Many had prospered before the Combine erased the records. And then an unexpected voice spoke. High Delegate Ellerin of Ashari, long thought a Combine loyalist, rose. "I remember. My grandmother told me stories. The Terrans cured our sun plague, gave us agricultural protocols we still use in secret. She called them guardians." The chamber fell silent. Ellerin looked at Zar. "And what do they call us now?" Zar's voice was firm. "Irrelevant. They do not wish revenge, but they will not suffer lies any longer." "Then what do they want?" asked the Keth'ari first voice bitterly. Zar smiled. "Nothing. Nothing but for us to stop calling their mercy weakness." Contact from the dark. That night, in orbit over the Combined capital, as Zar awaited judgment, his ship received a private transmission. It came on a spectrum and used since the Exodus, the withdrawal of humans from galactic life. It was one word. "Well done." He froze. Another message followed. "Transmission incoming, public channel." Zar blinked. Public? Suddenly, every star system, every government channel, every school network, every military signal in the galaxy flickered. And a face appeared. Human. Old. Scarred. Eyes like ancient oceans. "We are the Terran continuance. This is not a declaration of war. This is a reminder. We are still here. We always have been." Planets across the galaxy went still. "One among you sought truth. We rewarded courage. We offer no conquests. We claim no stars. But we will not be hunted, silenced, or misrepresented again." The human leaned forward. "Try to conquer us, and you will fail. Attempt deception, and we will expose. Threaten our children, and you will never have the chance to regret it." Zar stared, heart pounding. "But speak to us as one species to another, and you will find not monsters, but kin." The message ended. The judgment. The Combined Tribunal reconvened under pressure. Protests rocked homeworlds. Civil movements decried the censorship. And most dangerously, Some Combine fleets refused orders to attack Terran space, probes now seen on the edge of known territory. The verdict? Tsar was stripped of his scholarly titles, branded a cultural destabilizer. But execution? Exile? No, because now the people knew, and they would not accept lies anymore. Tsar left the tribunal with no medals, no reward, and no invitation to return to his former life. But everywhere he went, others were waiting. Students, scientists, hidden Terran admirers. He became the start of something larger. Aftermath, a glimpse of empire. Years passed. Humanity did not invade. They did not offer treaties. They simply began to be seen again. A small hospital satellite over a plague world, fully staffed by AI and one human doctor. A rogue Combine pirate fleet attacked and never returned. A diplomatic message, signed simply. Ambassador Sarin II, third generation. Terran continuance. Terran ships began appearing where chaos reigned, restoring order, then vanishing. Each time the same message. We remember. Do you? Zarkan, now old and marked by a dozen assassination attempts, stood on a balcony overlooking the free world of Leora, a once combined colony that had voted for autonomy. Beside him stood a human, Marla, unchanged, timeless. I thought your people had vanished, Zar said. She smiled. No, we just went quiet, so the galaxy could learn to miss us. Zar laughed bitterly. Do they? She looked out over the stars. Some do, others still fear. But a precious few like you understand. That's enough. Zar closed his eyes as the stars shimmered. He had walked in a myth, been judged by legends, and survived. Now, the galaxy stood at a crossroads. And behind it all, watching but not ruling, waiting but not hiding, was the silent empire of humanity.